All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a massive, frankly exhausting challenge that pretty much every single manager and corporate leader is dealing with right now: employee distraction. Look, if you're managing a team, you've absolutely noticed focus slipping. It's incredibly frustrating, right? But before we start pointing fingers at a lack of discipline or some kind of poor work ethic, we actually need to completely reframe how we look at this. Today, we're going to unpack modern workplace distraction without blaming your team, because the reality is what we're looking at is a biological mismatch. It is not a moral failure.
So, let's just ask the big question. Why do your absolute highest performers, the rock stars, the people you trust the most, suddenly lose hours to digital scrolling? It's a shared struggle across modern teams. Everywhere, you sit down to review a critical quarterly report, and somehow, 20 minutes later, you or your team members are deep into a social media feed or endlessly refreshing a news site. Seriously, it happens to the best of us. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the actual root cause behind this drop in productivity.
To really understand your team's distraction, we actually have to rewind and look at human evolution. You see, the human brain evolved in a world where rewards were incredibly rare. In the ancient world, effort absolutely had to come first. Finding food, that required immense energy. Earning social approval meant real-world, physical struggles. The rule was beautifully simple: effort first, reward later. But the digital tools your employees use at the modern desk, they break that rule entirely. Today, rewards are endless, they're instant, and they require absolutely zero physical effort. Your employees are sitting at their desks, experiencing a completely inverted reward system.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The productivity mismatch. 2. Decoding dopamine. 3. The unpredictability trap. 4. The biology of procrastination. And 5. Rebuilding team focus.
Section 1. The productivity mismatch. Think about it like this. Managing modern employees is literally like placing a survival system inside a casino that never ever closes. Imagine giving a prehistoric human a smartphone. At first, they wouldn't get it, obviously, but very quickly they'd realize that just touching the glass screen produces a new face, a joke, a message, a sign of social approval. The reality we're dealing with is that your employees can experience more stimulation in 10 minutes on their smartphone than their ancestors experienced during an entire day. We are asking an ancient motivational machine to just casually sit next to a highly concentrated artificial reward dispenser for 8 hours a day.
Section 2. Decoding dopamine.
Okay, we need to redefine something we all think we already know. A lot of people casually throw around the term dopamine as just the brain's pleasure chemical. But for you, as a manager, that description is incredibly incomplete. Dopamine is actually the core engine of motivation. It's deeply connected to anticipation, learning, and reward seeking. It doesn't just say, "Oh, this feels good." It tells the brain, "Hey, pay attention. This might be important. Do it again." It's the neurochemical that pushes your team toward a possible reward, which was fantastic for survival in the wild, but highly, highly problematic when they're just sitting at a computer. And here is the trap your team falls into daily. Dopamine helped the ancient brain remember that certain actions led to valuable things, like finding sweet fruit or clean water. But here's the catch. This ancient system cannot always distinguish between a life-saving reward and a distracting digital notification. It reacts blindly to what feels immediately valuable in the moment. It does not naturally factor in what is actually good for long-term career success, which is exactly why your employee's brain will instinctively prioritize a glowing Slack notification over hitting their long-term quarterly OKRs.
Section 3. The unpredictability trap. Let's put this into perspective. On one side, you have checking notifications or a team chat app. It's highly unpredictable. You literally never know what the message is going to be, and it provides an instant reward. Now on the other side, you have deep work on a complex project. It's predictable, it requires sustained effort, and the reward is heavily, heavily delayed. Because of that unpredictability, checking the chat app feels far more biologically urgent to the human brain than focusing on that complex spreadsheet you assign them. They aren't trying to ignore you, their brain is just prioritizing unpredictable, instant novelty.
The smartphone is essentially a slot machine, and it brilliantly illustrates exactly why unpredictability is so gripping. You've got a casino in your pocket. Every single time your employee checks their phone or hears that Pavlovian Slack notification sound, they don't know what they're going to find. Maybe it's an urgent update from the CEO, maybe a colleague liked their message, or maybe it's absolutely nothing. That uncertainty is exactly what makes them check again. The most powerful moment isn't even receiving the reward, it's the anticipation right before it appears. That is why your team feels restless when their digital devices are nearby. Their brains are constantly on the hunt for the possibility of something new.
Section 4.
The biology of procrastination.
And boom, this is the exact moment an employee decides to procrastinate. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. They need to work on an important, really difficult project. It requires immense effort, and they won't feel successful for days, maybe even months. That is the definition of delayed satisfaction. But then, they glance at their phone or maybe an open browser tab. Instant digital reward. It requires almost zero effort and provides immediate stimulation. The ancient brain naturally prefers the reward it can get its hands on right now. It compares the two options, and it immediately chooses the screen.
As managers, we have got to completely reframe what procrastination actually is. It is not laziness. When the brain adapts to frequent, rapid rewards from screens, ordinary tasks literally start to feel uncomfortably slow. When your employee delays a task, it's often just their brain choosing immediate relief over the discomfort of delayed progress. Furthermore, modern life has pretty much stripped away our ability to tolerate boredom. We use our screens to escape stillness. When a difficult task creates friction or boredom, the screen is just an emotional hiding place. It's instantly available to relieve that tension.
Section 5. Rebuilding team focus and attention. Let's look at how we actually fix this.
The goal here is absolutely not to eliminate dopamine. Your team needs it for goal-directed behavior. The strategy is to retrain their brains to value slower, meaningful work again. To do this, you can actively engineer an environment that supports focus. Step 1, create intentional friction around those instant rewards. Just make them slightly harder to reach. Step 2, require effort first to delay that reward. Step 3, help the team practice tolerating boredom again by just letting the attention system adjust to quiet focus. Step 4, replace those fast digital hits with meaningful, slower rewards. And finally, Step 5, make progress highly visible. The brain needs undeniable, tangible evidence that its effort is actually driving the team forward.
Let's translate those steps into practical management tactics you can use today. The crucial point here is engineering your team's environment to help them succeed. First, establish a cultural norm of keeping phones physically out of reach during deep work sessions. That adds instant friction. Second, encourage teams to delay their digital rewards. Maybe advise them to do 20 minutes of focused work before they are even allowed to check internal chat apps or messages. This actively teaches the brain that effort comes before pleasure. Finally, and I'd say this is the most important one for you as a manager, break large goals into small, visible wins. Don't just reward the final result at the end of the quarter. Reward the completed brief, the hour of focus coding, the small daily milestones. This connects their dopamine to growth rather than distraction. I want you to really let this quote sink in as you rethink your management style. Your brain is not broken. It is doing what it evolved to do. You can train it to find satisfaction in patience, effort, and progress. This applies to you, and it applies directly to your team. Their brains aren't weak. They're just reacting to a modern world offering infinite, unearned entertainment. Instead of feeling frustrated with your employees, you can take intentional, supportive action to help them navigate this new landscape.
Which brings us to our final question. What structural changes will you make to your team's workflow today to support their ancient brains? Remember, every single time a behavior is repeated in your office, your team is teaching their brains what to desire. You have the power to stop the endless digital slot machine and help them find deep, genuine satisfaction in their effort and progress. It's time to rebuild their attention. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, good luck out there!